The offseason is well underway, and we here at Locked On NHL Game Night, we're tackling the toughest questions with our favorite local reporters.
Yes, we are. And tonight we ship up to Buffalo and check in on the Sabres.
Is the drought fixable out there in Western New York?
We'll answer that question and so much more as we welcome Sabres expert Joe DiBiase on this summer edition of Locked On NHL Game Night.
When that final horn sounds, you know it's time for Locked On NHL Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. Prepare to experience game day reactions like never before, only on Locked On NHL Game Night. Your team every day.
Hello there, hockey fans, and welcome to another episode of Locked On NHL Game Night, your one-stop shop for getting season previews of all 32 NHL teams. I'm your host, Cam Stuart, a sad Boston Bruins fan on the third coast.
And I'm Tyler Feldman, a lifelong Penguins fan, born and raised in Pittsburgh, but currently loving life in Austin, Texas. Cam, I spent a little time in the southern tier of upstate New York about a decade ago in Binghamton. Northwest of Binghamton, you've got Buffalo, and that brings us to our guest tonight. Look at this guy. Looks like he's been at training camp all morning, and then golf after.
It's
Joe
football
DiBiase.
season. It's football season and it's golf season. So this is me after being in the sun at practice and at golfing all day.
It's football, it's golf, and that's why tonight we're talking about hockey. It just makes sense, right? It just makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, you know, whenever you want to revisit and remind yourself that you've got a team in town with the longest drought in professional sports. Yeah, why not? Of course. Let's remind me of that. I love it.
Hey, look, you're not a Jets fan as well, so that's
true.
You have
Actually,
avoided the double whammy.
Jets beat them by like 4 months. Same amount of seasons, but I think it's like
Yes.
4 months. So actually, I don't think I could claim the Sabres are the longest, the second longest.
There you go.
And the irony of a drought in Buffalo is you've got Niagara Falls, and you just seemingly shouldn't have to deal with a drought that we've seen from the Sabres. Joe,
Sure.
my biggest question, I think anyone watching this episode tonight, they're wondering, is it fixable with this Sabres team the way they are currently constructed?
It's a tough question because I think most would say, and I would definitely say that as long as Kevin Adams is the general manager, the answer feels like it is no, that it is not fixable, that the confidence level that they will make the moves that are needed to go from what they've been, which has mostly been a team that is more than 10 points out of the playoffs every single year, save for one a couple of years ago, that to make a leap from there to even just being a playoff team, it takes aggressiveness. It takes a willingness to trade your own players. It takes resources. It takes money, spending to the cap. It takes getting people in the building that know what they're doing, big hockey staffs, analytics, scouting, and everything feels pretty bare bones right now. It feels like the owner just wants a GM that he's close with and can trust, doesn't want to spend to the cap. They have not done that. They have the most unspent cap dollars in the league over the last 5 years. They have a building even that's crumbling. So like that needs a renovation. They might announce something on that this week, but we'll see. But all of it just all kind of feels like this owner and this GM, more importantly, because that's the person you can actually change from. I don't know. There's not a lot of confidence right now. And I think 6 years on the job is more than enough to be able to know what Kevin Adams is. So not to be a Debbie Downer, but I kind of feel like they got to get lucky with goaltending or something for it really to be fixed.
And it's kind of become like this running joke over the last few years. It used to be, oh, this is the Caps year, 10 years ago. Now it's like, is this the year? Is this the year the Sabres break the drought? They've got this young core. They've got this young talent. Most of that comes from the rose through the concrete. Tage Thompson, who just once again, ho-hum, 40 goals for a second time in the last 3 seasons. Age 27 season, right in his prime, 44 goals, 28 assists, which probably speaks more to the surrounding cast than his playmaking ability, 72 points in 76 games, and someone that doesn't get the respect around the league because you don't see him play in the postseason. So, Joe, if they are going to sniff the postseason, or dare I say get there in one of these next 2 or 3 seasons, is it going to take an MVP kind of effort for Tage Thompson? And the second part of that question, Is he a legit MVP candidate?
I think he's interesting for that because I think he's capable. I definitely think he's capable of a season scoring 50 goals, putting up. I think he's capable of a 100-point season. I would never think he's going to do that regularly, but he got to 94 a couple of years ago, and he played the weeks at the end of that season injured. So he stays healthy. I think he easily could have got to 100. If he puts up 100 points and 50 goals and the Buffalo Sabres end the longest playoff drought in league history, then that honestly might be enough for him to at least be in the conversation. And maybe if, McDavid has a down year where he only has 100 points instead of 140, then maybe that's enough for Tage to be the winner of that award. I think it's possible. It kind of goes to where the blueprint, I think, is for this team right now. If they're going to make the playoffs, they need Tage Thompson to be an MVP candidate. They need Rasmus Dahlin to be a Norris candidate. They need their goaltending to have career seasons. They need their power play to be near the top of the league. These things that, you could even see as being unsustainable, especially the power play and the goaltending part. But part of it is just there are so few players at the top of this lineup that you can fully trust to make a difference night in and night out that, the top two guys at both the head of the defense group and the forward group, they kind of have to be that good because I don't see a lot of pieces behind them that could pick up the slack if they don't.
Buffalo undoubtedly is one of the most passionate sports cities in the country. And the Bills are riding high. Maybe this is the Bills' year. What's the feeling like on the streets of Buffalo surrounding this Sabres team? How are people feeling about the current state?
Yeah, it's very... it's almost mocking the team at this point, right? Like it honestly, they come up and it's almost it's a joke. Like it's sarcasm, especially this time of year, when the Bills are firing things back up and the Sabres are in the middle of their offseason. I think really like this town loves the team. They love hockey. You look up at the ratings every single year in the Stanley Cup final. Maybe this has finally started to dwindle a little bit, but for years and years, the Sabres or Buffalo is the number one out of town market for the Stanley Cup final in the United States, at least.
Wow.
Because this town loves hockey. And sometimes they even actually outdraw the team that's in the final. If you get a Southern market, they easily can do that. When this team is even half good, a couple years ago, they weren't really that great. They almost made the playoffs. They missed by 1 point. They were a fine team. They were a good team. They weren't great. And all the fans came back. Like season ticket base started going back up. Ticket prices started going back up. The building started being full again. There was a little bit of a buzz in town. It took almost 10 years of them missing the playoffs before the building really started being empty. And that is not the case in most markets. If you're bad for 2 years in most markets, the building starts to empty out. Here, it was a decade. So, like, for me, it's very negative right now. I think they deserve it to be very negative right now, but it's dormant. Like the energy, the fandom, man, like it in 2006 and 2007. I know I got to go back a far way to find years like this, but when that team is great, it's on par with the football team. Like the buzz in the area, the excitement, the attention. I work for WGR Sports Radio in Buffalo, and I could tell you, our boss tells us this, like they have metrics on it. We are the only market in the United States that talks hockey on a regular basis. Like Boston, you'll get a little bit of it, and they're probably the closest. Yeah, a little bit. But we spent 2 full weeks talking about the Sabres at the beginning of July when the Bills were in their off time, just on off-season stuff they didn't even do. So, and why is that the case? Because people listen, because they do care about the team. They just kind of hate the team right now because they keep letting them down year after year after year. So it's a sleeping giant. If they ever get good again, the city's going to explode. But I've been saying that for, 14 years now.
Joe, it's tough to see you this red in the face talking about how you feel about the Buffalo Sabres. Sorry, I
you can't even tell. I could be red in the face right now. You wouldn't even know.
Too easy. Just to lob that one up. Come on. Come on. No,
Joe, like the greater NHL, public, are on the golf course also.
Yeah, I'm a red and black. I'm a red and black Sabres kid. So
I love it. I had to bring back those jerseys. Bring back those jerseys. And Joe, I appreciate you telling us how you feel because. Cam's from Boston. I'm from Pittsburgh. Between the three of us, those are 3 cities that love their hockey teams. And it is tough. Like I grew up with some Penguins teams that really weren't great. So I know that feeling. And you kind of want as a hockey fan to see the Sabres get back to that winning way.
Oh, Joe, it sounds like you're getting Gavin McKenna and 3 Stanley Cups in your future if you're going the Tyler Feldman route here.
No, nobody wants to hear the T word around here, the tank word, because that was a civil war in this fan base 10 years ago when they did that for McDavid and Eichel, one of the two.
Which side were you on, Union or Confederate, Joe?
Let me see in this context. I mean, the team was tanking,
work it out.
So I guess I'm on. That's the Union side. I think I was on team tank.
Smart. I
was on team tank for sure. But nobody wants to hear that right now because, like, just what does it mean? It means going back to the bottom, and nobody wants to willingly do that. But
yeah, but what's the top? What's the top for the Sabres this season?
Exactly, and we can get to that. But like Gavin McKenna is going to Penn State, which for those that don't know, is the alma mater of Sabres owner Terry Pegula. And Terry Pegula is a big donor there. He built the ice hockey arena 10 years ago.
Do you know what rink Gavin McKenna is going to play on? Pegula Ice Arena, inside.
Right, the name is Pegula Ice Arena.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know that they'll be bad enough. They could be to be the number one pick. You got to win a lottery.
Don't underestimate them.
Yeah, hey, we know Gavin McKenna's going to Penn State. We know.
Well, we know
Penn State alum Tyler Feldman knows.
This is what really happens is the Penguins will be amazing for 20 years. They'll be bad for 1 year, and then they'll win a lottery. That's really how I think.
Now there's something. Now we're talking. Yo, you're
that's for Locked On Pens.
Not even fair.
That's for that episode. Check that out. It's already on the channel. The Penguin season preview on Locked On NHL Game Night. We are going to continue on with the Sabres, who did have to once again make some moves to get disgruntled players out of there. But Joe's going to tell us how they can win the JJ Paterka trade. That's coming up next on Locked On NHL Game Night. But first, a word from our friends over at Game Time. Look, you can't sit out there bare-chested at a Bills game in January or go see Tage Thompson score 50 goals if you don't have a ticket. Okay? Look, we've all been there. You log on early, waiting forever for those great concert tickets, those game tickets, comedy shows, for those things to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show you've been dying to see. Okay? The concerts, the games, it should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That's where Game Time comes in. Game Time makes getting your tickets faster and easier than ever. Those prices, they actually drop as it gets closer to showtime, and you could save up to 60% off with their killer last-minute deals, okay? You get the view from your seat, so if you're sitting behind a pole at the ballpark this summer, you're at least going to know it before you spend your money. And speaking of knowing what you're getting into, my favorite part about it is the all-in pricing tool. That price you see, folks, that is the price you're going to get. No hidden fees. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Back here on Locked On NHL Game Night Season Preview Edition, talking the Buffalo Sabres, who we have decided are the only team in North American professional sports that has both Buffalo and Sabres, like their city and mascot on the crest. I think that's really cool.
Can't think of another one.
Can't think not yet. We've got people working long and hard. Tyler submitted the Penguins. We had to correct that. Tyler Feldman's with me.
Cam Stuart. I'm trying to think. Come on.
Joe DiBiase. I'd love to hear if there's another one. I think that's really cool. But we're talking about the guys who unfortunately didn't want to wear that uniform, Joe. JJ Peterka, a guy who was really on the rise the last few seasons, a guy the analytics people love from an offensive standpoint, forced his way out, traded to Utah. You get Shane Doan's son in there as well. What did you think about the trade, and how do you think the Sabres could actually win this one?
I think they really could win the trade. I didn't like the trade happening in the first place. I don't feel like the Sabres should have kind of cowered in the face of a 23-year-old player saying he didn't want to be there when they had 4 years of contract control still. Because I like the player a lot. I think they should have played hardball with him. What was he going to do? Go play in Germany for 4 years until his contract ran out? I don't think it would toll anyway. So I wanted them to play a harder ball with that. But if you are going to trade JJ Peterka, what the Sabres needed was basically what they got. For sure, you could definitely argue value-wise, you should have gotten more for a 28-year-old or a 23-year-old forward that is gifted offensively, that has scored 25 plus goals in back-to-back seasons, that I think the arrow is still trending up for. You could definitely argue that, you should have gotten more. And I think they definitely could have. What they needed, though, was a top 4 defenseman, and they needed a guy to play with Owen Power. Rasmus Dahlin is in his prime. He is more than capable of playing with an average partner. A guy that, is not the worst defenseman on your team, but you don't have to have an all-star next to him. Owen Power is still growing. He's a 22-year-old defenseman. He's only played 2 full seasons. He's not yet reached his full potential. You needed a good partner for him. And I think there's a lot of good numbers on Michael Kesselring, who, again, not a big name. Like, I don't even know how many casual hockey fans would know the name. I'll admit I knew the name a little bit, but not a lot when the Sabres acquired him. I feel like this is maybe a Sabres analytics department type of move, because he only played 17 minutes a night. He played a lot on the Utah third pair, which, how does that sound? You traded one of your best forwards for a third pair Utah Mammoth defenseman. What year
another
is it?
team that didn't make the playoffs, yeah.
Right. Not even a great team. But
if I had told you that last year, would you even believe it?
No,
Utah Mammoth third pairing defenseman.
Yes, right. 2 years
that
ago,
you'd be excited about
the Coyotes are still existing, and they're going to trade him to Utah. I would not know what you were talking about. This player, though, like, he's got good numbers. I think he's a good puck mover. I think there's a lot more there with him. He's a good skater. He's got one of the hardest shots in the National Hockey League. I don't think he's an all-star. I don't think he's a superstar, but I think he's going to come in and play 20 minutes a night. He's going to be a stabilizing presence for Owen Power. And I think, as we talk about how the Sabres break the drought, one of the ways they do that is young players taking big steps forward. And there's nobody more capable than a big step forward to me than Owen Power, who was a number 1 pick. And I think insulating him with the right piece is perfect. The Josh Doan, they love Josh Doan. I don't love him as much as the team seems to, but I'm not saying he's a bad player. I think he's a good bottom 6 player. Sabres have a lot of those, and maybe that's my problem, is it feels like you just added like your 8th third liner onto the roster. But not a bad player. I think he'll come in and he'll do good with penalty killing and playing a 2-way game. They're trying to get tougher to play against. I think he'll help with that. But to me, the meat of the deal is Kesselring. And if he becomes a 20-minute a night good second pair defenseman, we could debate whether that's called a win. I would say at least it's a draw in that case, because the Sabres would have gotten what they wanted.
Bowen Byram, bridge deal, 2 years. Not a ton of commitment on either side. How are Sabres fans feeling about that one?
It's a weird one, because everyone's been waiting for him to be traded for, going back to the trade deadline. The Sabres have basically admitted they want to trade him. Kevin Adams, whenever kind of pressed about whether he's a member of the core of this team, never is really willing to give you that. I think they like him, but not enough to pay him on a 7-year deal. And I think it's mutual. Like, I don't really think this is a Bo Byram doesn't want to be in Buffalo, or the Sabres don't like Bo Byram in their locker room type of situation. I just think it's Sabres have a lot of money already tied up in defensemen. They have a lot of minutes already tied up in defensemen. And I don't think they really feel the need to commit to another one. And at the same time, on Bo Byram's side of things, he's made it pretty clear through reporting and the way he's talked. He wants to go to a team where he can get power play minutes. And I understand that. Like, here, he doesn't get any. Dahlin's going to get power play 1, and Power's going to get power play 2. And if you're a guy that's still only 24 years old, trying to make your mark in the league and get a big money contract, what do you need to do? You need to put points up. And he gets no power play time. So, like, last year, guess what? He's 15th in the NHL in among all defensemen in even strength points. But what's the number end up being at the end of the day? 38 points. Who wants to give a 38-point defenseman $9 million a year? He knows what he needs. He needs to go to a team where he could get on the power play, throw 20 power play points on top of the 38, and bam, you're going to have someone much more likely to give you the contract you need.
So excuse me, but if you're not getting power play minutes on the Buffalo Sabres, what makes you think that you're going to get power play minutes on any other team in the league?
That's kind of the fault in his logic. Is he was on a team, Colorado, where he didn't get those minutes because there is a little of that. Kind of a little, who do you think you are with Bo Byram? Like, maybe he thinks I just need second pair power play time. Just like he could get that, I'm sure, somewhere. I'll agree with you though. If he thinks that there is this long list of teams that he could go to where he would be the number one defenseman, I think he's sorely mistaken. I think maybe there's 2 or 3 teams in the league where he would be at the top of the depth chart.
I feel like he's got to get with some sort of sports psychologist and reframe his frame of mind going into this season, because if you're on a team like Buffalo and you're not getting power play minutes, then your mindset really should be surrounding, I want to be on the power play. I feel like there's other steps to be taken that you can take on a regular basis, on a nightly basis, on a game-by-game basis to put yourself in position to earn power play minutes, as opposed to just saying, hey, I want to go to a team where I can be on the man advantage. Well, you're in a situation where if you can't earn it there, where else are you going to earn it?
And I do think like it would take a little bit of the coaching to be on board with that too, because the Sabres, as many teams do, they like 1 defenseman, 4 forwards on both of their top units. Here's the thing though, the Sabres are not loaded up front, like at all, with forwards that need to play on the power play. It's not against the rules for him to be a better offensive threat than your 8th best forward. And, now I have a power play unit where he is on it with 2 defensemen. And that to me would be the thing that if there's a long-term relationship to be figured out here in the next 6 months and he starts the season, I think the power play is key for that. And to your point, like I think he would have to take that away from somebody. He doesn't have to take it from Dahlin or Power. He's got to get on one of those units. And if he puts up another, 38 points even strength and he adds 15 or 20, power play wise, then I think he'll get the long-term deal that he's probably looking for.
In order to get that, he's going to need to step up. And it's going to take a few Sabres to do that in order to get to the promised land. So who's it going to be? Who's going to step up for the Sabres team? And is this the year? Those questions we'll tackle next on Locked On NHL Game Night. Continuing on, Locked On NHL Game Night Season Preview Edition. We'll have you covered for all 32 teams leading up to puck drop in October. Cam Stuart with Tyler Feldman and Joe DiBiase of Locked On Sabres. If you guys are liking it so far, like the video, subscribe to the channel. It's completely free. Helps us keep our jobs. And get involved in the comment section below and tell us what you think about the Sabres team. Bo Byram, who does he think he is? Tage Thompson, MVP season. Let us know in the comment section below. So if Tage Thompson's going to be the MVP, Joe, then who is going to be the guy that steps up from this team that will become something of a household name for hockey diehards this year?
I think there are 2 players that come to mind immediately, and they are, funny enough, like if Thompson's going to win MVP, he's going to have line mates that help him get there. Probably. And in the last month of last season, the 2 guys he finished the season with were Yuri Kulik and Zach Benson. I actually did my most recent episode of Locked On Sabres on breakout candidates, and they were the first 2 players that I got to, because 1, age-wise, they are in the curve of, okay, like now's the time. Benson, you've played 2 full seasons in the NHL, which, by the way, for a player that goes outside the top 10, him making the league immediately out of it is still incredible to me, especially when, like, you watch, he's a very tough player to evaluate. I kind of like the challenge of it. I love watching him play because he is not fast, he's not big, and he's a teenager. So you might ask, wait a minute, so how in the world has he been in the NHL for 2 years? And most would probably say, well, the Sabres stink. That's how he makes the roster, right? And that's a part of it. He is instinctually one of the best players I've ever seen. Like, his instincts, he is always thinking 3 steps above his opponent. And I think the only thing holding him back, and maybe this will be his whole career, from being like a star player is, again, he's not a great skater. He, by the NHL Edge stats, is one of the slowest players in the league. And he's not strong enough he can't even really get a lot of weight on his stick to score these opportunities that he gets for himself. But he's incredible defensively. So Benson becoming a player that could put up 50, 60 points this year in his 3rd year at 20 years old, to me, it would be huge for Thompson getting the numbers that it would take to be in the MVP discussion if they're playing together, and for this team to make the playoffs. He's already got all the defensive game nailed down. And then for Kulik, listen, Yuri Kulik might open as their number 1 center, like kind of by default, but him and Tage had some chemistry at the end of last season, and Kulik was a rookie. So, expectations were modest. He only had 9 assists, but we saw the goal scoring flash. He got to 15 on that front. I think for him being a guy that could play 18 to 20 minutes a night, as a number one center, maybe like a 1A, 1B on this team. You know, you have a couple guys that play about the same. That would be fine, but he has to become a better playmaker. Tage Thompson, as good as Kulik is at shooting the puck, the guy on your right, number 72, if he's going to play on the wing, is a lot better than you are.
Yeah.
So for me, he's got to get a lot better at carrying the puck and distributing the puck and allowing Thompson to be kind of the main goal scorer on that top line.
Sabres, 36 wins a season ago, 39 losses, 7 ties, 79 points, draws,
shootout losses,
shootout losses, whatever you want to call it, in the standings.
Whatever.
You understood what I meant, Cam. Okay? I've been up since 5 a.m., okay?
Look, Joe did a good thing a couple years ago about the Sabres playoff drought and how they avoided it for a long time in the 90s and 80s because they had so many ties.
Hey, those 36 wins, 3 more than the Boston Bruins.
That doesn't take much.
Two more than the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Yep. Amazing.
Joe, what's a realistic – is this the year the Sabres end the drought? What's a realistic win total, point total? They were 12 points out of a playoff spot. Can they realistically get there?
They can. If you ask me today, I'd say like 75 points, 77 points. Like that to me is the most likely. Could they be below that? Sure. There is an outcome where this team bottoms out, where it all comes crashing down, and it's, you know, the players that have been here for a long time are just done with the whole thing. I mean, Rasmus Dahlin and Tage Thompson have been here for 7 years. So I would not blame them for checking out if halfway through the year, like they're in last place. I don't think they would. They're professionals, but I wouldn't blame them. I think it's also possible, and it's within the range of outcomes, that they make the playoffs this year. I do think that is possible. I think they could be a 95-point team. I don't think I could see them going much higher than that.
We're saying plus or minus 20 points here?
Listen. That's a lot of NHL teams, though, isn't it? Like it's based on what your net looks like, and it also is going to be about your power play, and it's going to be about health. So yeah, maybe I'm giving that a little too much credit for the range there. I think the meat of it is 75 points is what I think is most likely. Here's what they need to have happen. They need to not be one of the 5 worst teams in the league in power play, which they have been. They need their goaltending to be consistent, which has happened like one time in the last 10 years. One time since Ryan Miller has been their goaltending. And they need to stay healthy. And if those 3 things happen, I could see them being a team that gets 90-plus points. It'll look different than when they almost made it a couple of years ago. A couple of years ago, they were high-flying up and down the ice. We're going to try to outscore you. The blueprint that they are going for now, the way they've built the roster, the way the coach is handling things, Lindy Ruff, is they want to be tougher to play against. They want to be better defensively. So if they have it their way, they'll win a lot of 3-2, 2-1 games this year, and they'll kind of grind their way to making the playoffs.
Have it your way. That's Burger King, right? Is that Arby's? Subway?
I think it's
one of them. I think it's Burger King. Yeah.
Burger King should make a song so I could, for a commercial. Then maybe I'll catch on if they just made one of those. Maybe a more important question than just for the Locked On Sabres host of if they're going to make the playoffs is this. Yeah. Joe, if you are Terry Pagula, okay, let's put you in that scenario.
Okay.
Sure, I know there's a whole list of things you would change. I know. I'm going to stick to one question though.
Okay.
Are you sticking with these lovely royal blue and gold sweaters, or are you throwing it back and bringing back the black, red, silver goat head? 99, 06, the glory days.
Yeah. Arguably their 2 best. I think someone who watched in the 70s would really want to fight me for this, but arguably their 2 best teams in franchise history are wearing the black and red in 06 and in 99. I would, this is the way I want to be an owner. I would want to do what I think the people want most, which is, not always what I might want most. I like the black and red the most. I grew up with that as a kid, so it's more special to me. But I also understand that the first 35, 40 years of this team's existence was wearing basically what they wear now as their home and away uniforms. So I wouldn't mess with that. I actually think they've kind of nailed it. I think they've nailed
Okay.
it. They do wear the black and red a lot. I'm not
They
sure.
do.
Maybe
Yep.
you guys could tell me how much like your teams wear alternates when they have them. But they play 15 home games a year wearing black and red. That's a big chunk of your home games. Then usually a couple road games on top of that.
It's like 40% of
So
your home games.
I think they've got a good balance right now. I think they wear it enough that satisfies the fans of my generation while also keeping the generation that grew up with it, in the first 35 years and the last 15, keeping them happy too. I think they're in a good sweet spot. So I would keep it.
You're happy. I don't know if Michael Pekka's happy. I don't know if Danny Briere's happy about hearing this, but
no. Well, Danny Briere wore the
dominator.
slug too, so I don't know.
He
I don't know
did.
how badly
He was.
wants
Yes,
that.
that's true, man.
I don't know if he wants that
It's
one.
a
Back.
classic.
Maybe he does.
It's a classic.
There were some talks about going back to the slug and earning your way into a real uniform, making the playoffs. I won't say which one of us said that, but it was discussed before.
Yes,
before hitting
said.
record.
If you watch the show, you know who commented that distinctly on a sweater. That's all I'm saying.
Oh man. So
Well,
is
do you
this
remember really quickly? You remember the yellow alternates they wore for a couple of years? Those are the ones. Like, you want to go back to the slug for like a year and wear it twice? Like, I'm not going to yell at you. You wear that thing ever again, and you should instantly be folded or move to a different city.
Do we call it a yellow or a gold one? Do you have to call it like it's only half of that, right?
No, right. It's right. It was blue on the back,
It
and if you
was
look closely, the
horrific.
torso was a different yellow than the sleeves. It was a monstrosity. It was the
so
worst
you know
jersey
what's-
ever made.
So you know what's funny about that? Yeah, so that trend didn't catch on. The
No.
two-colored, the two-toned jerseys.
No, it was ridiculous.
But what's so funny about that is when we talked about earlier the uniqueness of the logo, the fact that it has the Buffalo and the Sabres. On that one, you'll remember they were like, oh, how are they going to know what team it is? And so they just wrote Buffalo underneath it or on top of it or whatever.
It was right on top. Yeah.
This is
Oh, boy.
so
And like
bad.
Times New Roman, by the way. Like
Yes.
the font looked like it was the default. On
Like
the jersey
some
creator.
intern who never watched hockey brings up this question in the meeting, and the executives are like, "Ooh, are people thinking that? Are the young people thinking that? Do we need to put Buffalo and Times New Roman above it?" And they did. But anyway, is this the year the Sabres finally make the playoffs? Let us know in the comment section below. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're a loyal Buffaloian or you just love the Sabres from somewhere else. It helps us keep our jobs, and it's completely free. Special thank you to Joe DiBiase of Locked On Sabres for hopping on today. If you are new to this Locked On NHL network, please check out the show. It's truly one of the best we have on our network. You only Sabres talk every day. For Joe DiBiase and Tyler Feldman, I'm Cam Stuart. We will see you on the next season preview edition of Locked On NHL Game Night.